I'll just stand. Now you're making me nervous. Good.
I mean, yeah.
It's your opening statement.
Do whatever you want to.
Y'all want to say it?
That's been about 6 hours. I did a little bit of that.
I'm going to get a napkin. This is just messy. Todd, what's the matter? The expensive water's no good for you? The expensive water's no good for you?
Just bringing out the tap.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce 2025 Cornelius Candidate Forum. My name is Brian Sisson. I'm the 2025 chair of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for coming out this evening. I'd like to thank our commissioner candidates for participating in this event so we can all learn about you and learn where you stand on the issues. I'd also like to thank the mayoral candidates who will be up next. Good luck to all three of you in the election this year. I'd like to especially thank WSIC for hosting this event for us and streaming it live so the residents of Cornelius can see it now and in the future. And with last thing, we have one more candidate forum this year. We did Davidson last week, and next week on the 9th of October, we have the Huntersville Candidate Forum at 7 o'clock at Huntersville Town Hall. So with that, I will turn it over to Justin Ckezepis, and it's all yours.
Something like that.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Bill Russell and the Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate the opportunity again to broadcast tonight's 2025 public forum. We are in the town of Cornelius tonight at Cornelius Town Hall. We are live with the crowd. You guys go ahead and give yourselves a round of applause. Had some people come out tonight that want to be a part of the process. You can submit questions both in the room. Where is Vanna White? Where did she go? There she is in the back of the room right there. You can hand her your cards, and she will bring them up here to Bill, and we will screen the cards. I will not read them verbatim. We will have no Ron Burgundy moments tonight. We will give it our best shot not to, anyway. We appreciate all of the candidates being here as well. A couple of ground rules, too, before we get started. This is a forum, not a debate, so we will not have rebuttals back and forth should we find ourselves in that type of situation. We are broadcasting live, so I would ask for everyone to keep their language appropriate, for assuming that children are potentially listening and watching as well. And throughout the night, you will hear me pause for breaks. We will have one break in between the commissioner board as well, between that and the mayoral. So we will take a break in between the two sessions. But to kick things off, it's a great opportunity to introduce yourselves to those that don't know you. I'm just going to start left to right on the first question. I'll go and tell you. Last question, I'm going to go right to left. We're just going to do that way and be fair about it. So, Commissioner Carney, you're sitting there here on my left. If you would introduce yourself and also say, why are you running for a town board commissioner?
Sure. Thank you so much. So, Robert Carney, quick intro about myself. I am a North Carolina native, raised in Hickory, North Carolina. I've been in Lake Norman since 2007, in Cornelius specifically since 2015. My background is economic development, so I've spent the better part of 15 years focused on how to help communities grow in healthy, meaningful ways. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm running, or running for re-election, is because Cornelius is at a critical time. It has been. It's going through a lot of change very, very quickly. And I think that the community has become out of balance. I think we have had a substantial amount of residential overgrowth, which isn't anything abnormal. This is what happens to a community that's, got the lakefront proximity, that's just outside of Charlotte, like it is. Growth is a natural phenomenon, but if you're not very aggressive about how you grow, then you can have some things that don't fare so well for the community. I've specialized in working with communities and helping them manage growth and do it appropriately so that you're balanced. You're not only a residential community, but you're also an employment center, and you also have all the amenities that communities really enjoy. So I also have my wife, who should be arriving any moment now, with our daughter from soccer and our son. So Erica and my two children, Allie and John. So if Allie is smelly, it's because she just came from soccer. She's been working really hard, so I apologize preemptively. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. Mr. DeVoney, I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. DeVoney. Mr. DeVoney, please introduce yourself, and why are you running for town board?
Good evening, everybody.
My name is Mike DeVoney. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Great, I don't know these mics. I was born into a service family. I was actually born in England because my dad was in the United States Air Force for 20 years. By the time I was in the 6th grade, I'd been to 5 different elementary and kindergarten schools, so we moved a lot. In a service family, you learn about service, you learn about commitment. On the other hand, my mom was in public health, so she was also in public service. And they both were in those types of positions their entire lives. In 1972, my dad retired from the Air Force and immediately ran for commissioner, town councilman is what it was actually called, in Altamont Springs, Florida. So half my life was spent everywhere. The other half, up until I was in college, was in Florida. So I identify as a Floridian. But my family, my wife and daughter and I moved here in 2018, and I had been moving constantly for corporate jobs, corporate reloads, but our daughter, who's a freshman in high school right now, was in the 2nd grade when we moved here. I promised her we wouldn't move again until she was at least out of college. So we're here for the duration. Like my dad, that means, because I'm not moving every couple of 2-3 years, I can provide what he did, which is public service. So I'm running as a public service, as somebody that is got several different capabilities and expertise, one of which is spend management. I've worked on various supply chain issues for 40 years and ended up as a consultant to people like Duke Energy, Johnson & Johnson, the TVA, Southern California Edison, helping them determine how they're going to spend money. Spend management programs are a supply chain branch, and it's something I'm good at. So I can provide public service to this town by helping with that. And the reason I'm running in particular is something that you just said, which is running for balance. In my view, it would be helpful, I happen to be the chair of the Democrats in North Mecklenburg, it would be helpful to have some balance on our town board that reflects progressive values, that's another voice. I have policy ideas that might be different than what the town has looked at before, but with the business experience and the will to serve, these are the reasons I'm running, to give people an alternative to existing board members.
Thank you, Mr. DeVoney. Thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Furcht, if you would please introduce yourself, and why are you running for town board?
Really good to see you, Justin, and thank you, everybody, for coming out. There's a great turnout. It's unusual to have this many folks in town hall sometimes, so grateful. I know we all believe that this is a good thing. So I'm Colin Furcht. You probably remember me from 4 years ago when I ran the first time, and several of us that ran together were fortunate enough to become commissioners, and the last time didn't work out so well, but I'm grateful to be on the planning board today, so I'm still part of the community from that perspective. I've lived here in Cornelius for over 20 years. I've been active in the community in a number of ways. Some of you may know about the Lake Norman Lighted Christmas Boat Parade, which is something I started several years ago to give back to the community. And so I live here, I work here, I work from home, so it's important to me that every decision that any board makes is going to benefit everyone in the community. The question comes up, why are you running again? Because this was one of the most treasured jobs that I've had in my career as a commissioner before, and I kind of missed it this last go around, but I wanted to make sure I took another shot at it, and hopefully the folks will agree. But if not me, who? And we joke about this. If you go down the list of folks that have run for office in this town, there's really not many. A lot of folks, you know, they kind of wait and see how it's going to turn out. But I think that there's several of us here that come forward and say, hey, I'll raise my hand and I'll do the work with you and for you. And I think that's what's most important. I'll speak for myself, and certainly my peers will probably feel the same way. But I think it's important that you want to put folks in these roles that really care about the overall community. And that's certainly something I do have.
Thank you, Mr. Furcht. Ms. Johnson, please introduce yourself and tell us, why are you running for town board?
Hey there. My name is Susan Johnson, and I'm a current commissioner and looking for re-election. Like Robbie, I also grew up not too far from here, born in Charlotte, and then moved to a small town, Stanley, which is about 30 minutes from here. So native to the area. I've been very focused on serving our community. Prior to the 2 years before becoming a commissioner, I actually served for 10 years, 8 years on the planning board, and the last 2 of which I was the chair. I also worked on the Growth Management Task Force, which did updates to our land use plan, so very focused on our community. My background is in real estate. I've been in real estate for about 20 years and a local business owner as well. And it's really important for us to actually take care of our local businesses. And I know a lot of us and a lot of you are in the room own businesses within our areas, and that's one of the things that we focus on, preserving Cornelius and making sure that we make good decisions that not only impact our citizens, but our local business owners as well. I am a mom of 2 boys. Both my boys are in college, and I am navigating the life of an empty nester this year. So that's been new and different. I'm very passionate about Cornelius, and I'm running just to, again, be a voice and be an advocate for our citizens, focusing on public safety, on transparent communication, on improved infrastructure, and just smart managed growth, as Commissioner Carney mentioned. That's something that we all really want to strive to do. So thank you very much, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Mr. Osbourne, please introduce yourself and tell us, why are you running for town board?
Thanks, Justin. Hi, I'm Michael Osbourne, a husband and proud father of 2. I've also served as one of your commissioners for the last 3.5 years. You elected me because we were tired of being shut out of decisions affecting our town. Since then, I've put citizens back in charge. First, developers no longer out-talk our residents. Now you get equal speaking time at public hearings. Second, I bet on citizens over consultants. The Growth Management Task Force I led created our land use plan. It strongly communicates that we will no longer approve high-density residential projects like the ones coming out of the ground on West Catawba Avenue right now. Third, I transformed our Transportation Advisory Board into a solutions factory. Nearly 100 improved projects have been captured and prioritized for town board consideration. Finally, you and people watching from home shaped our parks and downtown's future through multiple public forums and backed it with $20 million. I'll vote to acquire land before it's gone forever. When we trust citizens to lead, Cornelius wins. I've proven what we can do together, and I'm asking for your vote to keep citizens in charge of Cornelius's future. And the reason that I'm running, Justin, is because I want to make Cornelius the best lakefront community in all of North Carolina.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sansbury, thank you for being here tonight. If you would introduce yourself and also tell us, why are you running for town board?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Thank you, WSIC, and thank you, Bill and Brian in the chamber. My name is Todd Sansbury, and I'm a current town commissioner. I'm a native Carolinian, and I've been in Cornelius for 20-plus years. I want to thank my wife, Heather, for being here tonight in the front row. The reason I ran, much like some of these other individuals, was about 4 years ago, I saw some allegedly smart people on the board making decisions that I didn't think were the best for the community. I'm a firm believer that citizens should hold their elected officials accountable, and there were a lot of decisions being made that I think benefited a select few and did not benefit the majority of citizens in Cornelius. I think our goals over the past 4 years have been extremely important. We have advanced road projects, we've kept fire and police fully staffed and compensated, and most importantly, we preserved green space. And that is really one of my biggest important factors in being a commissioner. I have voted against projects that would have destroyed our precious tree canopy, and I voted for projects that will extend our parks and greenways. I voted for economic opportunities such as Atrium, and I voted to lower or eliminate any tax increases. To me, that's what I hear from citizens, and that is the most important thing. It's funny, on average, we add about $3 million to our annual budget every year. So with financially sound decisions, there really is no need to burden citizens with additional taxes when a sound, intelligent, pragmatic board can make decisions that keep this town safe and beautiful and strong. I hope to do that for another 2 years with your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sansbury. I have been handed several questions. I can tell you there's quite the variety already this evening, so I'm going to dive into one of the lightest topics possible, transportation. And so I will start with you, Mr. Osbourne. I'm going to ask you the question. Do you support the potential sales tax increase and support of transportation in the current form with the three different aspects of dollars for roads, dollars for rail, and dollars for buses?
Justin, absolutely. That's 100% yes for me. I happen to sit not only on our town's Transportation Advisory Board, but also our region's planning organization, which is called the CRTPO. One of the things that I've come to realize is that the entire state has a funding issue. For all the projects that have already been approved and quote-unquote funded for our region, there's already a $500 million shortfall. There's another list of projects that have been prioritized, and there are several $billion in shortfall for those projects. It is my, decision that, their conclusion that if we don't get this funding that comes with the, for funding for our roads, we will need to raise taxes to build the infrastructure we want, or we just won't have the infrastructure that we need.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Furcht, I'll ask you the same question. Do you support the upcoming sales tax increase in its entirety that includes dollars for roads, dollars for rail, and dollars for buses?
So I'll start my answer with, I'm glad it's going to the people, because I don't think any local government should make a decision of that size. So I'm grateful that the people are going to get to decide. To be completely frank, I have my concerns on both sides. I lived here when the half a cent tax rather was put in place, and when we never really saw much of that. I know there's language in the new bill that would offset that, so that part I'm okay with. I haven't really been convinced that Cornelius and the surrounding towns are mass transit towns. I don't know yet. We're going to find out on Election Day when folks decide how they want to play this. I certainly will support whatever decision is made by the people, but I'm not 100% convinced either way right now that this is something that we need in this town.
Thank you, Mr. Furcht. Mr. DeVoney, same question to you. Do you support the upcoming sales tax increase proposal in its entirety that includes dollars for roads, dollars for rail, and dollars for buses?
I support it wholeheartedly. I know that there were negotiations that upped the percentage that went to roads from this sales tax, but in our area, particularly our city, it is vital that we get ahead of where we are now with road development. We have 13 major projects just in Cornelius, and many of them are languishing because of state funding problems. We can help it along with our own sales tax, cash infusion, and get things done. On the other side of that is I am very supportive of a commuter rail system. I think it will help with affordability in our town. People work here, but they can't afford to live here. If it's easier to get here through the rail system, that will provide some balance in the employees, thank you, and the local infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. DeVoney. Mr. Sansbury, same question for you. Do you support the upcoming potential sales tax increase in its entirety that includes dollars for roads, dollars for rail, and dollars for buses?
Thanks, Justin. This is a little tough for me because I typically don't vote in favor of tax increases. But like Michael said, we have a severe transportation shortfall. There are a lot of road projects that need to be funded, and we're going to need a funding mechanism. If you read the legislation, it's actually a pretty good piece of legislation. There's some flexibility in there that offers solutions beyond just rail. So that's incredibly important. And I think to Colin's point, the vote is going before the citizens. They'll have the ultimate say, and that's the most important thing because they live this every single day. So I do suggest that we need a funding mechanism, and we do need transportation solutions. But it's up to the people to decide if this is the right piece of legislation. If it's not, we need to implement something in order to correct this issue.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question for you. Do you support the upcoming sales tax increase potentially in its entirety that includes dollars for roads, dollars for rail, and dollars for buses?
Thank you for the question. like Colin, I'm very happy that this is going before the people, and that's the whole, what we're all about, is listening to our citizens, listening to our constituents. You know, what is it that they want? I will tell you, you know, I am for it, and here's the reason why, is because if you've ever gone down Ckezepis trying to cross over the DDI or trying to go down Ckezepis in any direction, it's very difficult. I live about a mile from here, and it could take me anywhere from 6 minutes to 50 minutes to get here. We desperately need help in our roads. And so the other thing is this sales tax, it actually will not just be our citizens, it'll be people who actually come through our towns that can also help with that tax.
Thank you. Mr. Carney, do you support the upcoming proposed sales tax increase in its entirety that includes dollars for roads, dollars for rail, and dollars for buses?
Justin, thank you for the question. Yeah, I am in support of it myself. I think my current commissioners as well as candidates have made some really good points thus far. Just a couple things on top of that is, yeah, the road needs are incredible, and there is no funding mechanism in place today that is going to solve the issues that we have at the moment. We can go back in history and say what the state should have done. That's not going to get us anywhere. We're having to deal with the problem of moment. One of the things I would like to point out that we've been really talking about is the sales tax dollars generated and how beneficial it will be, especially whenever combined together with our counterparts, our neighboring communities around Lake Norman, and some of the real issues that we'll be able to address. But also what we've talked about is it's like the dog that caught the car. To have something like this, you have to think about how are you going to plan along that rail corridor so that it is truly something that's uniquely a blessing to the community and not a blight. If you do not get ahead of planning around something like this, you can have some things that don't fare as well for the community. Thank you.
Thank you all for your honesty on that question. I know that you've probably been asked that many times, and so we appreciate you being willing to say that. Speaking of relationships at the state level, that's this next question here. If you had 30 seconds with the governor or NCDOT secretary, what would you ask for Cornelius right now? And Mr. DeVoney, I'm going to start with you.
I'd ask for help with the right-of-way funding for the West Ckezepis expansion.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Let's go Mr. Sansbury. If you had 30 seconds with the governor or NCDOT secretary, what would you ask for Cornelius right now?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So for every dollar that we spend on improved transportation, the state currently gives us about $14, but that's still not enough to get us where we need to be. I would ask for continued funding, for continued focus on North Mecklenburg and actually the western part of North Carolina, which tends to be underfunded. One of the most important things that we could probably implement would be an exit 27, because that would alleviate a lot of traffic, not just for the interstate and for our community, but for the entire surrounding area.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carney, if you had 30 seconds with the governor or NCDOT secretary, what would you ask for Cornelius right now?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So I would ask for prioritization of exit 27. First and foremost, basically the engineering design of that came out at such a large price that it basically got taken out of consideration. We think that engineering study was poorly done, and if managed better, it would actually come into the necessary threshold to where it would meet a very, very high prioritization for the region. And so that would be one of the first things that we had a discussion about.
Mr. Furcht, if you had 30 seconds with the governor or NCDOT secretary, what would you ask for Cornelius right now?
Well, first I would say thank you because we have 13 projects already in place. Now, that may not seem like something to thank folks for, but if you look around at the surrounding towns, we have more road projects than most of our peers. So that part I would be grateful for. However, on the flip side of that, and I think we all would agree, a lot of these projects are taking a whole lot longer than we would expect them to and hope that they would. So to use Robbie's word, prioritization, I would ask that they add additional resources to the projects that are already underway, and then certainly fast track the ones that are on maybe the tail end of that list, because at the end of the day, having these projects on a spreadsheet is really nice, but if it's not coming to fruition, I think that's the biggest challenge.
Ms. Johnson, if you had 30 seconds with the governor or NCDOT secretary, what would you ask for Cornelius right now?
Personally, I would ask for the widening of Ckezepis. I think that that is a severe need that we have in our community, and widening that would alleviate a lot of the traffic congestion that we currently have today. And that project has been on the step the longest of any project that we have requested. So it just continues to get kicked down the road, and we need prioritization for that particular project now.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourne, if you had 30 seconds with the governor or NCDOT secretary, what would you ask for Cornelius right now?
So funny enough, I have a meeting coming up in October later this month, not with the governor, but with someone from the DOT. It's our new engineer rep. And I know what I'm going to ask him. I'm going to show him the pattern of delays that we've had. We've had over 32 delays on 8 projects. It typically falls into 4 categories. It's usually either right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, or a reanalysis of the project itself, or a funding with issue as a whole. And when you see this happen 32 times, it's a process problem. There's a major issue with the process. So I'm going to ask him these 3 things. 1, what will you do to establish utility coordination agreements earlier? 2, what are you going to do to increase right-of-way staff resources to set time limits moving forward? And 3, how are you going to secure more predictable funding for the towns? Because, Justin, here's the thing. If the projects that we were given didn't have these delays, we would already have them. Our roads would not be in the situation that they're in today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to another light topic, affordable housing. Mr. Furcht, how do you intend to balance the need for affordable housing with the lack of support for high-density housing?
Well, I think we need to change the word, because I think affordable housing is not really what we're focused on. It's more workforce housing. And I think that's really what we've done in the past, is focused on how do we get our teachers, fire, police, folks that work in the town. So to use the word affordable is a very gray word. What does that mean, right? But I think workforce housing is really more appropriate. But I would say that we've already had discussions with developers in the area, the Mills project being one of them that was approved several years ago, that I was pleased to approve. And there was a percentage of those units that were assigned for workforce housing. And I think we can do that going forward to help that process. Is it going to fix the problem overall? Probably not holistically, but I think we can make small steps to impact that.
Thank you. Mr. Carney, how do you intend to balance the need for affordable housing with the lack of support for high-density housing?
Yeah, that is truly probably one of the more difficult questions I think you'll have asked this board, or at least myself, tonight. One of the things is empowerment of our Lake Norman CDC. We have an organization that's developed and dedicated specifically for this, that's kind of navigating this as far as how do we provide affordable housing product, and how do we also manage the fact that we're a community that is strained with our infrastructure. So where we put it is just as important as anything else. Leveraging loans, not from the municipality, but from other entities, grants from various sources, and then also engaging the private sector. I think they have a very, very real place in this discussion that we need to be leveraging, and I don't know that that discussion has really fully been developed as much as possible. But really, whenever it comes down to it, it's picking the appropriate corridors where you can have higher density, because what all developers are asking for is, we'll get you your more affordable housing, you got to give us more density. You have to be very, very specific and very strategic about where you pick those corridors to do so.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sansbury, how do you intend to balance the need for affordable housing with the lack of support for high-density housing?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's necessarily a lack of support for high-density housing. I think to Robbie's point, there's a lack of support for overwhelming building of high-density housing. As far as workforce housing, the CDC and Smithfield Community Coalition have a really strong plan and funding moving forward to accomplish this. As a matter of fact, the town invested about $4.5 million into infrastructure to support affordable housing projects. So I think to the point, it's got to be a community effort, right? Community effort, a private effort, but it's something that we also have to be a little brave and courageous and say, look, there's a balance between high-density housing and workforce housing, and we can provide that so the citizens can benefit from both.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Osbourne, how do you intend to balance the need for affordable housing with the lack of support for high-density housing?
Yeah, this is certainly a complex issue, and I am thankful that we have the CDC to do this, privately as opposed to the town or the state, trying to foot the bill for this all the time. I've got a couple major questions about affordable housing as it's been presented. One, typically when you build affordable housing, there's no requirement for it to stay that way forever. So what gets built today as affordable doesn't necessarily remain affordable after 8 years, and then we're right back to square one. So I would encourage us to continue to look at programs that have worked in our community, like Habitat for Humanity, where they did mortgage assistance and down payment assistance and education, and help our workforce get established in a home, be part of our community, owning that home, and ride that equity wave that typically happens with owning a home as opposed to just rental assistance.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Johnson, how do you intend to balance the need for affordable housing with the lack of support for high-density housing?
Like these guys have said, I'm so very thankful for the CDC. It came out of the Mayoral Housing Committee that that I was a part of several years ago. And through those efforts, the CDC was born. And they have done a tremendous job of purchasing homes within our community as well as renting existing homes to provide that affordable housing option that some may not necessarily be able to attain themselves. The other thing is, for future development, to require higher percentages of affordable housing per development. I think that certainly could help in the way of increasing the amount of affordable housing opportunities. And then just in general, our town already provides some assistance to our workforce, to our police, fire, and other folks. So I think, with continued efforts from the town, we could certainly help to address the workforce housing piece of that.
Thank you. Mr. DeVoney, how do you intend to balance the need for affordable housing with the lack of support for high-density housing?
Thank you for the question. It's very difficult because the two are in opposition. But one of the things I just heard, I agree with fundamentally, and that where is very important. Also the what, rephrasing it and saying workforce housing. What about affordable housing being first home buyer housing? First home buyer housing, people starting their lives together, building a family in this community are hard pressed to find a place to live in this community. So if we find the right places, I'm for all the charitable works that the town does now through organizations like Habitat for Humanity. That's all good, but it's also a drop in the bucket. To make an influential difference for workforce housing, for first home buyer housing, we have to decide where those houses will be and then commit to single unit houses. Commit to standards that help the property values of our town, don't harm it or overburden the infrastructure.
Thank you, sir. A question specifically about the Smithville community. Ms. Johnson, how do you think best to identify and implement solutions for the needs related to the Smithville community?
Smithville already has a revitalization plan that they have in place and that we as a town adopted several years ago. I think that they put a lot of great effort and great research into putting that plan together. And now it's just a matter of actually implementing that plan. And we certainly have as a town, assisted with the implementation of that as far as infrastructure goes, stormwater management, some of the things that are required up front before you can actually move forward with the actual building of what they anticipate that project or that plan to look like. So, I think that following through with the existing plan would be the best thing for Smithville.
Thank you. Mr. Furcht, how do you think best to identify and implement the needs, resources that address the needs related to the Smithville community?
Yeah. So to Susan's point, I was actually commissioner when this was approved several years ago, and I think it was a great plan for that part of town. It needed our help. There is a significant amount of dollars that the state helped us with. There's a significant amount of the project that the town is helping out with, sewer, water, curb. And so I think we continue down that path. I do hope that the team in the Smithville Coalition continues the good work that's been done up to this point. Certainly, we would like to see some continued actions to make sure that the plan does come together. This is a group effort. This is not just the town making a decision. This is working with the community. And so I'm pleased with the plan as it was delivered to us several years ago, and I think we just need to continue down that path.
Thank you, sir. Mr. DeVoney, how do you think best to identify and implement resources related to the needs of the Smithville community?
Thank you for the question. This is a vital commitment that the community, the state, the county, the town made to the Smithville community. And it's been funded, but it hasn't been paid. It hasn't been moved forward through execution. Some work has been done, some things have been paid for, but it lags not prioritization, but speed. There are supply chain issues, contract policies that had to be checked and double-checked for contractors to come out. And it just starts to sound like bureaucracy keeping good works and a positive decision by the town to keep it from being finished. So it isn't prioritization, it's speed, it's policy, it's look at what you've already funded and get the job completed. Everybody agrees it should be done. It needs to be done now.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carney, how do you think best to identify and implement resources related to the needs of the Smithville community?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So, yeah, Smithville is undergoing their revitalization plan. The town of Cornelius has already invested millions of dollars in helping to assist in that plan. We've been actually, Susan and I both are on a grant committee that the Smithville community brought forth a concept plan that they needed funding assistance with, for which we approved that. Actually, when we were in D.C. recently, earlier this year, one of the key most topics that we were lobbying our federal legislators about was the assistance that is currently needed in the Smithville community, and we'll certainly continue that, as well as working with Mecklenburg County. They've been a partner along the way in this. It's going to take a lot of us all working together to really address the need the way it needs to be addressed. And so we're doing that, but we're also trying to actually help the Smithville community as far as their fiscal and fiduciary responsibility of their management of the project as well. They've had a loss recently of one of their key partners, so we've been trying to fill in that gap and help them as best we possibly can.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Osbourne, how do you think best to identify and implement resources related to the needs of the Smithville community?
You know, one thing that I would do is when we talk about Smithville, I wouldn't always refer to it as it's a different community. Smithville is Cornelius, and Cornelius is Smithville, so it's our community. So I'd take care of it like I would take care of any other community. We currently have a small area plan in place for that community, and I fully support the small area plan that's been put in place. It took them about 12 years to get to that point in time, and we helped get that along and approve it. Also, because they are one of the longest standing historical black communities in all of the Charlotte metro area, I think there are some unique opportunities for them, and it's unique opportunities for the town to help advocate on their behalf. I think we can go to the state, I think we can go to the federal government, we can go to the county on their behalf and help process requests for funding and help them achieve additional funds for that. And then, you know, see to it that those funds get applied and that the town gets developed. But I also would look at developing all of the eastern part of Cornelius. A revitalized downtown is also going to help that Smithville community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sansbury, how do you think best to identify and implement resources related to the needs of the Smithville community?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Smithville is a very proud community, and I think the town has or will continue to be a strong partner in preserving the history. The $9 million of ARPA funds that the town received, we did commit over half of that to invest in Smithville. You asked specifically about resources. We also have about 7 parcels of land in that community that we're working with Smithville to make sure they can have access to and be part of their plan. And I think the biggest thing, Robbie alluded to it, Smithville has been on our legislative agenda for the past 4 years. So every time we make a trip to Raleigh and DC, we lobby, we advocate for additional resources for that community, and we will continue to do so. So between the town and the county and the state, and honestly at the federal level, I think we're going to continue to make that a strong and vibrant community, and we'll continue to fight for that.
Thank you. Moving on to the arts. In the past, the town has been very supportive of Kane Center. How high of a priority is supporting Kane Center to you? Ms. Johnson.
I'm a huge proponent of the arts. I think that Kane Center certainly brought to Cornelius something that we were absolutely lacking, which was a place that you could go see a show, you could, you know, learn how to draw, whatever, you know, learn how to kiln, which I still haven't done yet, but it looks really cool. So I do think that the town has absolutely done a great job with supporting. To Robbie's point, in the grant committee, we actually every year have continued to assist the Kane Center with funds to make sure that they actually are able to thrive and to get to where they can be fully funded without having to look at the support from the town. So, you know, I think that with what Kane Center brings and our downtown master plan and what we are trying to do in conjunction with both of those, I think it's going to be a really great thing.
Thank you. Mr. Sansbury, the town in the past has been very supportive of Kane Center. How high of a priority is supporting Kane Center to you?
Yeah, we're really fortunate to have the Kane Center. It's really kind of the hallmark of downtown. If you familiarize yourself with the master plan, we're looking at an entire arts district, and the Kane Center is the centerpiece of that. So it is a high priority from a funding perspective. And as Susan alluded to, it appeals to a lot of different community members for a variety of different activities. So moving forward, we're going to continue to work closely with them. They have a really strong business plan to not necessarily become self-funded, but to become more self-sufficient. We support them in that endeavor, but we'll continue to support them financially and you know, move forward to help them ensure that we continue to serve all the citizens of Cornelius.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carney, the town in the past has been very supportive of the Kane Center. How high of a priority is supporting Kane Center to you?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. So the Kane Center is certainly a priority. It's very rare that if you look across downtowns across the state, for them to have an anchoring asset that actually creates identity. It's probably one of the things whenever you talk about downtown revitalization and development, the first question they ask is, what is going to drive people into this subject area? And for Cornelius, we're blessed. We have the Kane Center. We have the Kane Center, not only what it is today, but what it's trying to become for tomorrow, at the same time that we're redeveloping or we're doing a downtown master plan. So it's a tremendous qualitative asset. There's quantitative, there's things that generate revenue and income, and then there's qualitative things that generate quality of life for the community. And the Kane Center certainly does that, and it's a regional thing. I mean, we have people coming from all over the Charlotte region that are coming up and now getting to see and spend money in downtown Cornelius. That's a blessing for us.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Osbourne, the town in the past has been very supportive of the Kane Center. How high of a priority is supporting Kane Center to you?
Thank you, Justin. Yes, the Kane Center has received a lot of support from the town, and the town had a lot of courage, you know, in the initial days of supporting it and the funds that went to it and the commitments the town made. And I'm glad they did, and I think we're all benefiting from that. But I would like to see the Kane Center wean themselves off of the town and get more reliant on themselves as any good business. I think that will challenge them to uncover the opportunities to make them even better than what they are today. I think there's an opportunity for the town to work with the Kane Center where we're aligned in what we're trying to create, like a festival street or more events and things of this nature, that the Kane Center might be better at organizing or, you know, might be a great set of hands, you know, to help the town organize. And I would be happy to work with the Kane Center in that way to make sure that they're receiving some funding that they need as they transition. But, you know, as successful as that was for the town to provide them with that seed money, I don't think it's our job necessarily to continue to fund them. And I'd like to see that seed money go to other development opportunities within our town.
Thank you, sir. Mr. DeVoney, the town in the past has been very supportive of the Kane Center. How high of a priority is supporting Kane Center to you?
Extremely important. Our family regularly attends concerts and comics that are there. It's a great program. It's a very successful anchor to the 2050 plan. It's very, every act, every comic that we've seen has gushed about how great the facility is and how beautiful it is. We can see that it's part of our new downtown, but it also, as a regional asset, brings people to Cornelius, gives us that identity. So while it's a great anchor, I don't believe we should be truing it up forever. In other words, self-sufficiency becomes a goal that we need to help them move towards.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Furcht, the town has been very supportive in the past of the Kane Center. How high of a priority is supporting Kane Center to you?
Well, it certainly was a priority to the town when this idea came up, and $25–30 million of private money came forward. So I think from a town perspective, it certainly is a priority, and it's done a fantastic job filling that need that we've had here in town. But I agree with some of my peers. You know, at some point, the town needs to be engaged to a certain level. I think it would be exciting to see them come up with a plan where the town isn't supporting as much as they are. I'm not saying cut them off completely, but I think the success of the Kane Center is driven by the folks in the community. And because they are doing so well, I think it remains a priority. It's certainly the epicenter of the town right now. I'm sure the restaurants and businesses in town, you know, are doing very well, especially on the nights that there is something. And so I continue to want to support that. I just think that the level of that support is a discussion that needs to be had going forward.
Thank you, sir. Moving to downtown. How do you think best to balance growing downtown while maintaining Cornelius's small town charm? Ms. Johnson.
So one of the things that I love about Cornelius is when you drive east on Ckezepis, all of the large trees and just the canopy there is just so beautiful. And that's one of the things, as we were looking at the downtown master plan, was to make sure that we were able to maintain that small town feel. As you drive through Cornelius, you get the trees, you get, you know, the small houses, and then you get to an area like, you know, having Festival Street, having the downtown, specific downtown area be the thriving focal point where you have restaurants, you've got walkability, social district. So I think that you could certainly you could blend both of those two things and have an attractive downtown. And the master plan that we are currently in process of finalizing certainly has all of those aspects. And then we just have to make sure that we actually implement what we are putting in place for the downtown master plan.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourne, how do you think best to balance growing downtown while maintaining Cornelius's small town charm?
So I think all the workshops that we went through with our citizens really helped us with the downtown master plan. And I think that the master plan itself did a great job in capturing, you know, the Cornelius identity. You know, making sure that we're encouraging gathering places where people feel comfortable walking to or riding their bikes to, or even driving and stopping and walking around to different locations, restaurants, coffee shops, bars, et cetera, I think will contribute to that feeling of small town environment that we're looking for. You know, the ongoing concerts, festivals, the Festival Street itself. And I think as well, I think it'll be very important to include our business owners as we start to develop this. I would like to create a business prosperity task force across the town with our business owners where we bring them in. We've got a wealth of knowledge in our business community. I'd like to see them more engaged and involved, and I think that they'll have a lot of ideas for making that happen as well.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Furcht, how do you think best to balance growing downtown while maintaining Cornelius's small town charm?
Well, as someone who sits on the current planning board and has been part of the growth plan for downtown, I think there's many aspects of that I think we hit the nail on the head. Is it perfect? No. But I think we continue to look at ways to keep that old town feel add the businesses, add residential where it's appropriate. Certainly, the Mills project is going to be a big piece of that, even though it hasn't even started yet. But I think it's important to continue to listen to the community. I think everything we've done as a town, between the board and the planning board, we give everyone as much input as physically possible. We did that during the Growth Management Task Force. And so I think the community has some great ideas. I think we continue to listen to those. And I think every step of the way, we just continue to get feedback. And I think that's what really we need to focus on is, we all live here. What do we want for our kids?
Thank you. Mr. DeVoney, how do you think best to balance growing downtown while maintaining Cornelius's small town charm?
Thank you for the question. This question, in my mind, boils down to if you're attracting people to an area where there are traffic problems, you have to have a place to park, a way to get in and get out. So the infrastructure issue there is if you build it, they will come. And that's what's happened with Kane and these other projects that are on the books. I firmly support the downtown development plan, but we have to think about how people are going to get in and out. And one of those opportunities with a commuter rail is that people coming to a large event can park their car wherever the station is and take the train to Cornelius instead of driving to Cornelius. So there's some synergy with the transportation plan and the need to be able to move people in and out of what will end up being a congested area, a beautiful, vibrant, attractive area, but one where we have to figure out how we're going to get cars in and out.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sansbury, how do you think best to balance growing downtown while maintaining Cornelius's small town charm?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. I don't think growing doesn't necessarily mean losing your charm. As Mike alluded to, we had either 4 or 6 listening sessions where we brought citizens in, and they literally had Post-it notes, and they were putting up on the board what was important to them from a town perspective. They got to see visually in the master plan, and they got to provide input. If I remember correctly, trees, walkability, and maybe architectural history were 3 of the most important things. So it's incumbent upon the board, we have to challenge developers to make sure we maintain that. We need to be in the driver's seat. We don't need to accept a project that comes to us if it doesn't meet the requirements that the citizens put into place. We did so with Mills Market. We had them maintain some architectural structure. We had them put in a parking garage, and we had them add amenities that were really important to downtown. So I am confident that with the right leadership, you can accomplish both.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carney, how do you think best to balance growing downtown while maintaining Cornelius's small town charm?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So I agree with a lot of the comments the candidates and peers have made, so I'm going to attack this maybe from a different angle, just for perspective's sake. When you say, like, keeping small town charm, really probably what you're more alluding to, or at least the community I've known and talked to, is basically saying residential overgrowth. Okay, so the first thing we've talked to whenever we've done this downtown master plan is I say that developers, master planners, it's a cheat code to basically say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to smash as much residential in, and then whatever retail we do makes sense because you've grown the necessary residential to where it will support it. That's cheating, and that's how we've basically approached this. We've said, no, we're not handling it that way. We're going to think about business and business incubation first, and then we're going to let the communities like Antiquity, Smithville, all these communities that are already connected, thinking about how they can move from where they're at into our downtown. And that's really kind of the challenge that we have as a board and as electeds, is saying, how do we say no? Oh, I'm getting the stop. But this is a key component of how you develop a downtown, as you think about being an employment center first.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to read this next card verbatim just so I don't get yelled at. Please keep your answers as short as possible. Do you believe in placing a cap on residential development in Cornelius? Mr. Furcht.
I think it would be difficult to come up with a number of what that is. I think it depends. I'm not certainly and haven't been in support of any high-density residential. We've voted against a lot of that. So I don't know establishing a cap is the right answer. I think establishing the proper use of that land for residential or not is the right answer.
Thank you, sir. Mr. DeVoney, please keep your answer as short as possible. Do you believe in placing a cap on residential development in Cornelius?
Thank you for the question. I believe in ratcheting it down and being thoughtful and prudent when we add residential, when we take those zoning cases and say yes, but I have no, to Colin's point, I have no way of knowing how one would set a limit on units, on dollars, on acres. It'd be very difficult to manage if you said we have a limit of X, and then the developers would work on getting around X to Y. So it really becomes our role is planning and accepting zoning projects when they come up and saying yes or no based on, not a litmus test, but what the priorities of the town are. The downtown development should be focused on businesses who can pull their own weight and build their own parking garages. Thank you. But as a town, we make that decision every time there's a meeting with regard to zoning. We don't need to set an artificial cap.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carney, please keep your answer as short as possible. Do you believe in placing a cap on residential development in Cornelius?
I do not. In my humble experience, listening to the community, they've said we want quality of life and we want Cornelius to be vibrant. The communities that have done that have become very anemic very quickly and actually started to really suffer. Managing density is really the biggest issue that everybody has. Is we're seeing a lot of requests that this is R2, 2 units per acre, and then they say, but we don't want to do that. We want to do 5 units per acre, 10 units. Managing that appropriately is going to help establish some balance for us.
Thank you. Mr. Sansbury, please keep your answer as short as possible. Do you believe in placing a cap on residential development in Cornelius?
Yeah, well, good question. I think we've already done that through the land use plan, which isn't a cap. It has guardrails and it defines where you should place residential versus commercial. So I think we've already done that. And the great thing about the land use plan is it provides a conditional zoning pathway. So if someone wants to go outside of the land use plan, they have to come and present to the board, and we can make a judicious agreement on whether that's the best for the town. So I think we probably already have that in place. It's not a cap, but it's definitive guardrails to help decide what's best for our community.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourne, please keep your answer as short as possible. Do you believe in placing a cap on residential development in Cornelius?
I believe in doing everything that we can do to limit high-density residential apartments in our community. I think we've been able to do that. We did that through Growth Management Task Force that I helped facilitate, and we reduced the max capacity on West Catawba Avenue by 70%. It's a matter of where you want the density and where you don't. You might want it downtown. You might not want it down Catawba Avenue. I was a no vote on the Kashmir project because you can have it in the land use plan, but if you don't follow it, then it doesn't do you any good. And that's my guiding light, is the land use plan. And if it says, you know, no residential units, I'm not going to approve residential units. The reason I was against it is because it took the place and an opportunity for a business to be there. And there's an opportunity in our town to have more businesses located here and have a better mix of business to residential. And it doesn't tax our constraints in the same way that residential does. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Johnson, please keep your answer as short as possible. Do you believe in placing a cap on residential development in Cornelius?
No.
Thank you. Time flies when you're having fun. We are coming up on the end of our evening together with the commissioners. We do have the mayoral candidates next, so I am going to do the last questions, and I will go right to left, as I said I would in the beginning. Mr. Sansbury, why should people vote for you?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Again, thank you for this forum tonight. So I think in politics, at whatever level, there is a lack of accountability. So if elected, I'm asking you to hold me accountable. You're welcome to call me. We'll go out and get coffee or a beer, and we will have a discussion about the merits of what's best for this town. If you want an elected official who's going to rubber stamp projects and follow the status quo, then I'm probably not the best choice. I know when we first started, there were several issues that we pushed back on. When we were told that new pickleball and tennis courts would take 3 years, we pushed back, and the staff found a way to expedite that. When we were told that the road projects would cost the town more than expected, the board and staff worked hard to get matching funds. And like I said before, for every dollar, we get $14 from the state. When previous leadership told us that we could not consider schools and roads when we looked at high-density projects. We found out that was incorrect, and we put that in our equation for the town. I have a full-time job. I ran for commissioner 4 years ago to make pragmatic, reasonable, and efficient decisions for this town. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Osbourne, why should people vote for you?
Because I've done what I said I was going to do. You know where I stand, and you know what I'll do. For roads, and everyone has asked for transportation and traffic flow improvements. We had 13 North Carolina DOT projects approved. We had 0 when we started. We have US 21, 38% complete, POTS 26, North Cross Extension 18, Bailey Road funding has been secured, and West Ckezepis is still delayed, but it's still contracted. You guys asked for a slowdown in residential growth. I helped create and facilitated the Growth Management Task Force, where we greatly reduced residential development. You asked for more parks and better quality of life. We just, last week, we're supposed to hold a grand opening for 10 new pickleball and 12 tennis courts over there at Bailey Road. You asked for public safety improvements. We fully funded the police every time it was asked for. We made sure they were fully funded, as well as transitioned the fire department. We also took on things that maybe the town wasn't even aware of, like medic. And we were fighting for improvements to medic for our community. And we've kept the taxes low all the while. And we didn't do it by cutting services. We did it by being smart with our money. I helped the town gain $20 million in discretional grant funds for roads in 2024 alone.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Johnson, why should people vote for you?
Thank you. Thank you, Justin, for moderating, and thank you, Bill, in the chamber. As I said at the beginning, I am absolutely committed to listening to our citizens, to advocate for our citizens on the, public safety, infrastructure, smart managed growth, all the things that we've discussed today, and most importantly, transparent communication. That's one of the things that for many years we did not have, and you guys did not have. And I think as a board, we have done a really good job of ensuring that we communicate, whether it be in social media, whether it be in a newsletter, so that we can make sure that you guys are informed as to what's going on. And that is key to listening to our citizens, and then providing results. I've done a lot of things, as these guys have said, fought to continue funding for the full-time fire department. I advocated to make sure that we had 3 additional crosswalks that were not included in the original budget, and that was huge from a public safety and walkability perspective. And if I am reelected, I will continue to balance progress with preservation to support the overall quality of life that we all should have and continue to have and do have currently in Cornelius. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Furcht, why should people vote for you?
When I sat in this seat 4 years ago and asked for your vote, I had no idea what I was doing. And it was scary, but the good news is I learned a lot in the first 2 years. I've certainly learned a lot in these last 2 years on the planning board. So I feel I bring that experience and leadership with me, that I've talked the talk and walked the walk. And I told everybody I was going to listen. I told you I was not going to approve high-density projects, and we were going to be very specific in the things that we did, and we took that time out. We laugh about the M word. You can't say moratorium during the couple of elections ago, right? People get in trouble for that. Well, we did that, and we took an 18-month time out, as we called it, and I think being part of that team, being part of that mindset, will continue for me, because I think it's important that folks know that we are listening. We live here. We want the same quality of life that you all do, and I'm that common sense, get down in the weeds, let's figure this out, and let's get it done kind of person. So I ask for another opportunity to serve you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. DeVoney, why should people vote for you?
Well, based on my experience in business, but not my experience in local governance. I'm interested in serving my community because I've had that experience. I've worked and done business with firms in the entire lower 48. I've worked in 5 provinces in Canada, Central Asia, Mexico, Western Europe, as a supply chain consultant, as somebody that helps people figure out how to spend their money. So spend management is something I'm really good at. That's directly applicable to any government. The P&L that I was responsible for in my last job is $240 million. So that's 6 times the operating budget of this town. $240 million, when I started with that firm, it was at $80 million. The number of employees went from 80 to 320. I'm somebody that can manage a business, solve problems, and hit the objectives. That's my experience. In general, I'm running to provide balance on this board. I'm running for progressive values and to place that voice of progressive values on the board, and I'm running to serve my community. I look forward to your vote.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carney, why should people vote for you?
Yeah, so when the community voted for me almost 2 years ago, I was in the fortunate position. I knew exactly what to do the moment I came up to the dais, and I've been putting that in implementation ever since. I campaigned on redeveloping community balance, being both a place that you could live, work, and play, and all of the work that I've done since I've been here has been specifically to create that for the community. I've always been candid. I've been very honest. I've been very transparent with the community, with the citizens when we have a conversation, sometimes to my own detriment. I've even had the times where I've had to tell people I might not be your candidate based on our differences of opinions, but I try to be very honest about where I stand on things, and I'll always commit to the community that I will do that. Whether it means I'm your guy or not, it's okay. The things I've really focused on: dramatically slowed residential overdevelopment, kept our taxes the lowest in the region while strengthening our town's financial resources, ensured funding our police and fire departments to keep Cornelius safe, and oversaw more road projects currently underway than in any other time in Cornelius' history. I hope you guys will again vote for me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again, all candidates that are here. Thank you to the crowd tonight for being here. We appreciate it. Appreciate all the questions. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and up next, the mayoral candidates for the town of Cornelius.
Mr. Russell.
Like as short as you possibly can.
I use that as a negotiating tactic. I teach negotiation, and I'll tell people the opposite side of the table. Before the people come in and negotiate with them, as low as they go. It works. People love it. They think it's funny, but it works. I didn't know what to expect, but it was interesting. Yes. No. Sorry?
Contacted.
Yeah, I know.
Here's my contact.
I appreciate it. Dave, I'm going to take you up on that. And I'm in a couple of cities early next week.
Hello.
All right, let's go ahead and head back to our seats. We're about to get started. Looking forward to the mayoral candidates. If you're running for mayor of the town of Cornelius, and no, you can't make that decision tonight, please make your way toward the dais.
Hey, Kenny. Nice to see you. Yes, good to see you. I don't think so. I recognize you.
Been in a couple of rooms. Yeah.
Hey, Nick.
Kind of spread out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that suits me.
Like your signs.
Again, if we can make our way toward our seats, please. We're about to get started. We're going to be coming back.
I like it, whoever you got.
I also want to invite, if you are a candidate in another race and are here this evening, please come up and see Bill Russell. We are going to give you an opportunity as well to say hello if you are running for another race that we are not having a public forum tonight for. We are going to give you the opportunity to address the room. We do appreciate those running for office coming and being willing to speak with folks. I'm going to wait for my cue before I go any further. Please don't drink my Monster over there on the table as well. Oh, I'm good to go. Okay, welcome back to our public forums this evening. Number 2 in our series of 3 in support with the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. You guys are getting good at that. Thank you to our crowd for being here tonight and submitting questions during our first round, which was with our town board candidates. We are going to have our mayoral candidates here shortly, but we wanted to welcome up someone joining us this evening in the room, Miss Charlita Hatch, who is running for CMS District 1, and we wanted to give her an opportunity to address you all tonight.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. I am Charlita from Charlotte, and I am not just from here, I am for here. I am a daughter of this district. I went to Davidson IB. I graduated from Vance High School with this Julius Chambers. I met my husband in the 10th grade there, and I'm raising a 3rd grader at Highland Creek. There are 3 things I would want to share with you. 1, I am getting my doctorate. I've been studying for the last 5 years why parents are not choosing CMS. And I think bringing that voice to the board is a critical voice to bring at a time like this, when we really want our public school to not be the only choice, but to be a viable choice for our families. Number 2, I work for the city of Charlotte. I'm the first Chief Data and Analytics Officer. So I'm responsible for our business intelligence and artificial intelligence strategy, in which I think every board needs someone with AI expertise as we think about how do we lead the district responsibly and ethically, and also make sure we're thinking about how do we prepare kids for jobs that don't just exist today, but jobs we don't know what they will be tomorrow. So many parents are worried about critical thinking skills. I argue that we need even more critical thinking skills. So how do we do that? And lastly, in 2020, I was president of the Junior League of Charlotte during the pandemic, and I had to lead that organization through a transformation of changing the way in which we recruited, we serve the community, and raise money. And I think you need a leader right now who moves beyond advocacy and really focused on policy and bringing the community along the way with you. So I would love for you to get to know me a little bit better. My website is www.hatchforcms.com, and I look forward to connecting with you. If you're interested, have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. Charlita Hatch, for speaking with us, CMS District 1 candidate. And now to the mayoral candidates for the town of Cornelius. We appreciate each of you joining us this evening. Be willing to take questions from the crowd. Again, Vanna White is accepting questions over there in the corner, and she will bring them over, and we will screen them before we ask. And so similarly to the earlier round, you all were here for that. I will start left to right. I will end right to left, just as we did again earlier. Mr. Biladeau, if you would please introduce yourself, and why are you running for mayor of Cornelius?
Well, thank you, Justin. And thank you to WSIC. Appreciate what you're doing here. Bill Russell in the chamber, always a good supporter of our town. Before I start with anything, I always like to acknowledge the most important person in the room, wearing a beautiful shirt, my wife Chantal of 42 years. And I have to get the numbers right. So married for 42 years, living here in Cornelius for 24. Love the town, raised my family here, wonderful daughter and son, and now 3 grandbabies, age 7, 2, and 5 weeks. So we're truly blessed. One of the things that I see a lot of familiar faces that you know about me is that I have been involved in a big way in this community. I've brought my skills from working with a Fortune 500 insurance company. That means that we have, a fiscal conservative approach when you work for an insurance company. Started my own business here, an insurance agency that was headquartered in Cornelius, and we had several locations throughout the state. But what I learned over time in business was that you have to have a good team. And as mayor, you have to bring out the best in the team you have. And I was just so very impressed with what you saw just now in terms of the candidates and the incumbents for the board. I look forward to working with them. Throughout my career, I've learned to solve problems. I've learned to listen, and I think that's important in the role of a mayor. You basically are setting the agenda for the team, and I look forward to do that. I've worked with nonprofits. I've worked with HOAs, which can be very testy if you've ever worked with an HOA. You get your feet wet very quick on what the issues are. And what I heard tonight was still a lack of understanding of what the key, most important issue is in this town in terms of traffic congestion and controlling the growth. There's a lot that still hasn't come out of the ground. So when we talk about what we're going to do, we have to look at what has already been done. And I'm here to tell you that my agenda will be just about that, working quickly to get things where we need to get them. So thank you for your program tonight. I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, if you would please introduce yourself, and why are you running for mayor of Cornelius?
Yes, thank you so much for hosting this. My name is Kenny Campbell, and I'm the new guy here. So thank you so much to the candidates before me. Loved hearing you guys, and thank you for your service here in the community, and for Denis and Woody for you guys serving this community as well. So I am a business leader. I've been in leadership for the last 20 years. My wife and I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I was a pastor up there for 9 years. Then we moved down to Atlanta, and I worked in the nonprofit sector for a little bit. And then we looked around the country to figure out where we wanted to live, and we found Cornelius, and we fell in love with it. So I'm running for mayor because I want to be an advocate for the residents of Cornelius, from the most affluent residents to the most marginalized residents. I want to be someone who listens to the voice of everybody in Cornelius and make sure that their voice is valued, that their voice is heard, and that the people of Cornelius are a part of the decision-making process through every step of the way. So I'm excited to do this. I'm a political outsider. I've never been involved in politics before, so this is my first go at throwing my hat in the ring, and I'm looking forward to the questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, if you would please introduce yourself, and why are you running for mayor of Cornelius?
Thank you. Well, I've been that for a while, Justin, but thanks for asking, because it's important. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge my wife that's here with me, my ardent supporter, works hard in every aspect, a good advisor as well. So Sharon, glad to have you out tonight. She doesn't have on the shirt, but she's got a big old button on her lapel. So that's a pretty nice button too. So I've been your mayor for a while now. We've made great progress here in this community. You just saw my commissioners in motion just a few minutes ago, the group that I've worked with for the past 2 years, and they all support me. That was big to me for them to step up and actually endorse me. I've endorsed them back. So we got a great group together that will hit the ground running on day one. I'm a banker, I'm a financial person, I'm a church organist, I love the arts, and most of all, I'm a advocate for civic responsibility and civic duty. And I think my background in running a lot of civic organizations, including the Chamber for a year or so way back when, was certainly part of my journey. So thank you for having us tonight, Bill and Justin.
Thank you all. We will have, again, a variety of questions, and as you could imagine, several topics you may have been asked before, but we have quite a few to start off with. First, we'll start with the role of the mayor. Mayor is a champion for the town and all residents. If elected, what are your top priorities? Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, well, I think one of the most important things, maybe the most important thing a mayor can do, is to be a great listener, to be able to hear the issues that the residents are facing in the town and the challenges they have. And a quote that I love is, the people who are closest to the problems are the most equipped to solve them. And so I want to make sure that part of what I do, part of my priorities as mayor, is on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, meeting with residents one-on-one, meeting with business leaders, hearing from them what their issues are and what their ideas are to solve them. As a business leader myself, I'm a creative problem solver, I'm an innovator, and I love to get things done. And I think there is a sense of urgency that we need behind some of the issues that we're facing. And so, yeah, I think part of my priorities early on would be to meet with people, hear their concerns, and creatively problem solve with them.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, the role of the mayor is as a champion for the town and all residents. If elected, what are your top priorities?
Thank you. Yes, top priority is to bring urgency, a sense of urgency to the position, because we have heard for a number of years from the residents of our town what is taking away from their quality of life. So we have a pretty good idea of where to start. But what I'd like to do is make sure that we're reaching and casting a wider net. Many times we'll have meetings with 5 or 6 people, probably more staff and elected leaders at meetings. What I'd like to do is prioritize getting out into the community, actually having a meeting at an HOA or at a local church or wherever folks and whatever time they'd like to meet. It's clear that the Monday morning 8:30 coffee chat is not working. And what we want to do is make sure that we're exchanging information, making sure that we're listening and we're acting. When I hear about a task force, I think 7 months, a year, I think slow. I think what we need to do is make sure that we're moving quickly and addressing the issues.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, the role of the mayor is a champion for the town and all residents. If elected, what are your top priorities?
Well, first of all, my top priority has always been building relationships with folks that can help our town, i.e. at the federal level, at the state level, and at the county level, and throughout DOT and all kinds of organizations. My relationships are in place. On day one, that process will continue as it has been. You know, as far as communicating with our citizens, Denis mentioned the coffee chats. If you add them all up, I started the coffee chats many years ago when I ran for commissioner. And we didn't have the technical aspects of Zoom and broadcast at that particular time, but we do now. And that's the way a lot of folks actually entertain themselves to hear what's going on in our town. If you can go to all of our coffee chats, you will keep up with everything going on, every department in this town. We'll have about 300, 350 people end up watching those chats online. That's just the new way of doing things.
Thank you, sir. This next question, transportation. Mr. Biladeau, if the upcoming proposed sales tax increase fails, what is your plan B?
Well, I think you, in the first session, you asked a question of what would you ask of the governor or the NCDOT. I would ask them to not spend $1.5 billion on an antique diesel train and put it to good use opening the lanes, getting rid of our tolls, doing something that will buy us time, and I believe that in 10 years, which was the window for this train, there will be technology gains. There will be modes of transportation that will be much more accepted by the public. For example, our village rider was not convenient, was not timely, so the bus service was discontinued. I would like to see something that is convenient, especially for elderly folks that may not be able to get on a train, transfer to another train, and be concerned about safety. So I think over the period of time, let's free up immediately some free lanes, and let's also look to the future with technical advance.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, if the upcoming proposed sales tax increase fails, what is your plan B?
There's really not a plan B. But in light of that, we can't give up because it could fail. I certainly hope not. But $6 million of road money to our town is transformational. It should not fail. The folks in this community tell us transportation is our #1 priority. If you really believe that, and if you mean that, then this tax will provide $6 million annually to this town going forward. That's going to happen. It's legislated by the state of North Carolina, not the city of Charlotte, the state of North Carolina. And we will get that money. Now, as far as the train goes, evidently Denis is a little bit behind in his technology because the type of diesel that we would get here in this community for the distance it has to travel is going to be first class. It really will. So, you know, the tracks are bought, they're in place, and we are ready to get that project moving. Charlotte owns the tracks. They paid $100 million for them. And so we're pretty sure that that's going to happen with good top technology coming to our region.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, if the upcoming proposed sales tax increase fails, what is your plan B?
Yeah, well, first I'd like to say I am a supporter of the sales tax increase. I think we need immediate solutions to our traffic needs, kind of like what Woody was just saying here. There is no plan B. We can't wait on these issues. We need to address them right now. And I think if we're waiting for the future, for technology to develop, that's just going to keep pushing these problems down the road when I think we really need to figure out creatively how we can address them in the immediate future. So as far as how to do that, you know, I would love to continue to work with the traffic planning boards, figure out what the solutions might look like, and then once we figure out what those are, to take action and make sure that they get done and stop kicking projects down the road.
Thank you. Turning now to the arts. Mr. Washam, what is your opinion on arts, including Kane Center's growth and funding in the future of Cornelius?
Well, I'm a big-time advocate of the Kane Center. I raised much of the money of the $25 million that came about to put it in place and allow us to open debt-free on day one. That was a pretty good feeling. So I support the arts. The town must continue a role. It's an economic development driver for this town, for this downtown. It's the centerpiece of our downtown redevelopment, and we cannot quit funding the Kane Center ever. Now, will we look at it closely? If we can reel it back a little bit, that's okay, but we will work hand in hand with the Kane Center. Look what they've done with the expansion of their arts exhibit, or their arts, the clay works, and also their office space to renew 2 historic houses in our community right around the corner from our new history museum, which is moving forward very nicely. So maintaining that fabric that this community grew up with is pretty important to me. But I believe in the arts for sure, and I believe in supporting Kane Center all the way.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, what is your opinion on arts, including Kane Center, growth and funding in the future of Cornelius?
Hate the arts. No, just kidding. My wife actually is taking an art class right now at the Kane Center. I think it's a very valuable centerpiece to our community. And when we talk about having a town that has charm, I think investing in our culture is extremely important to that charm of that community. So I'm a big supporter of the Kane Center, and I would love to see us continue to support it. You know, we talked about a little bit about self-sustainability. I think that's a good idea to help them work towards that plan. But in the meantime, I think, helping promote the events more, helping collaborate on things that we can invite the community to, helping spread the word, helping, having a space where community members can get together and enjoy life together and do things like art classes and go to concerts is a really important part of a community. So I am a supporter.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, what is your opinion on arts, including Kane Center, growth and funding in the future of Cornelius?
Sure. Regarding the arts, before there was a Kane Center, I was involved with downtown Cornelius, with the Taba Walk, with First Fridays. In fact, one of my very first campaign stops when I ran for a commissioner was at Old Town Public House. That's just an iconic place to be. I also was a founding board member of the Kane Arts Center. I was instrumental in hiring the executive director, Justin Dion. So I certainly have grown up with Kane. I support Kane Center, but I also support what we're doing with the remainder of the artists and the folks that are downtown. I think Justin's doing a fine job trying to spread his wings and getting others involved with the Kane Center programs, and that should continue. It should continue to spread. So very supportive of the arts, Kane Center and beyond.
Thank you, sir. Turning now to another small topic, development. Mr. Campbell, do you believe in strictly following the master development plan for the town of Cornelius?
Well, I think the master development plan was put together thoughtfully and with research, and I think it probably is important for us to stick to it. And so, once we develop a plan, if we keep going back and forth on, should we follow it, should we not follow it, should we make changes, we always need to have the opportunity to reassess things and, figure out what's best moving forward. There is a thing called the sunk cost fallacy, where you don't want to keep putting bad money after good or good money after bad. So we need to be able to do that, but I think once we develop a plan, we should do everything we can to stick to it, and that could be like our guardrails as we move forward.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, do you believe in strictly following the master development plan for the town of Cornelius?
Well, I did work with Commissioner Osbourne on the land use plan, and I could see within that room that there was very thoughtful citizens looking at what would be best. And the situation was such that I asked each one of those folks to not just think about their personal agenda, but think about what your neighbors and the community would like to see. So I think, we have tools today, and I was so pleased to see the planning department start to use AI and other ways to paint a picture, right? You can have a lot of words on paper and people interpret it a different way than others, but we should do more to bring the planning department. We'll probably talk about transportation, but the Transportation Advisory Board and the Town Board together so that we all know the direction that we're moving, and that is the direction that our citizens would like to see. And we're not there yet, but we can get there.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, do you believe in strictly following the master development plan for the town of Cornelius?
I do, and I believe if you make a plan, you need to follow it. If you're not going to follow it, you need to change it. It's just real simple. So, and I do think the plan has got enough, I guess the right word's flexibility built into it, that you can do some pretty interesting things. We've got to get that right because, we don't have much land left here in Cornelius. And each project that comes our way, much of it is the conditional zoning process. We need to get it right in terms of what arrives on any parcel in this town. I think that's important. We need to absolutely maintain the integrity of that plan. But there's times that you might need to make an exception. But if it continues, then certainly the plan needs to be looked at. And I think the current commissioners are willing to do that if there's a need. I don't see it yet, but there may be a day, particularly as we talk about the rail going up and down, the light rail going up and down the tracks over here. We'll need to probably take another look and examine that as time comes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, I'll ask you the next question here as well. Relationships. How would you manage and grow relationships both at a local, state, and federal level?
It's a really good question, and it's something I really hang my hat on, particularly as it relates to DOT. I have become pretty good friends with the new chairman of the NCDOT board. I've spent a lot of time with him here in town. I like to drag him up here and let him drive in our traffic, and he does that regularly. But relationships at every level of government is critically important because there's funding provided at every level of government that we need to put ourselves in place to jump on when the opportunity is right. And we do a doggone good job with that in this town. The grants that comes our way in every aspect from the federal level right on down to the county level is pretty incredible. They've given us millions and millions of dollars, and it's through those relationships. I'm a relationship banker. That's how I've grown up, and that's the job I've had for the last 50 years. So I think I know how to establish relationships and enhance and embellish those relationships. So pretty proud of that as far as our town goes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, how would you manage and grow relationships at the local, state, and federal level?
When I look at successful, long-standing politicians, whether it be at the federal level, state, county, I find that they're more about the issues than the individual. And that's the situation we have here. What has the cronyism brought to us? Is there a way to get roads built outside of the CRTPO? That is a thing of the past. And it's a very funny story when you hear our deputy manager, Wayne Herron, say he used to bring a turkey to folks in Raleigh so we perhaps would get better roads. And now there's a formula. Things are set. And I go back to the point of it is good to have friends. When you're in position for 8 years, you're going to have friends. The mayor's position should be respected as the voice of the town. But at the end of the day, successful people in political positions are looking at issues, not the individual.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, how would you manage and grow relationships at the local, state, and federal level?
Yeah, well, I think one of the key responsibilities of a mayor is being a relationship builder, is being somebody who prioritizes and puts time and energy into those relationships, having FaceTime, traveling, being willing to do that. And so as a mayor, it would start with the residents, like I talked about earlier, and then of course now we got to work our way up and make relationships and build and continue to grow those relationships at the local leadership level, at the state leadership level, and at the federal level. So that would be something I would prioritize and make sure happens.
Thank you, sir. The next question is on budgeting. Some people are expressing concerns of deferring costs in the town. Do you believe a tax increase will be necessary during your term? And I'll start with you, Mr. Biladeau.
Well, if you look at our fund balance, we're at a record high $53 million on a $39 million annual budget. And when you start to dig into what we're actually putting into this fund balance, there's a couple of lines and a new one, a line item for emergency funds. This is over and above the 40% minimum that we have as a town. So when I look at folks that say, well, we have the lowest tax rate in the area, take a look at the other component of what you pay for property tax, and that's your assessed value. You'll see that, as we did in the last reval, Cornelius gets a pretty high number, higher than our other towns in the area for assessed value. We have another reval coming up in 2027, and hopefully some of that has leveled off, but we were at 58% average increase in the assessed value times that lower rate. But when you put it together, what we have in Cornelius is a tax rate that people pay attention to, but should look at the total bottom bill.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, some people in the town are concerned of deferring costs. Do you believe a tax increase will be necessary during your term in office?
Yeah, well, from what I heard from our town manager, it doesn't seem like we will. I think there's thoughtful ways we can manage spending, we can manage the budget without having to raise taxes. Worst case scenario, we have to look at every option because we need to keep that minimum, but I hope and I'll do everything I can during my term to not raise taxes.
Mr. Washam, some people in the town are concerned with deferring costs. Do you believe a tax increase will be necessary during your term in office?
I don't think so. There was a point in time that I was really concerned about that and that our tax rate would get out of hand. And that hasn't happened, mainly because we've got a great board that keeps a thumb on all that. Expenses, all the aspects, our revenues, and we do need more revenues. And that's where this transportation tax comes into play a little bit. You know, why not let 30% of the people that pay that tax, they're going to be from out of the county. Why not let them support our roads here? So I think we're good for the next couple of years because if we get that supplement, that will make a difference. But, you know, we've got to pay our police, we've got to pay our firemen, we've got to keep our public safety intact, and I certainly don't want to shortchange on that end of the spectrum. If it takes a tax increase to do that, then we're going to have to do it. I have no idea what the economy is going to produce going forward, but I sure don't see the tax increase at this time.
Thank you, sir. Switching now to schools. Mr. Campbell, how do you see the role of mayor helping support schools throughout the community?
Good question. Yeah, well, I worked with teenagers for a large part of my career. So I was a middle school pastor for a long time. And one of the things that I love most is engaging with the next generation. We had over 400 teenagers in our ministry, and we were constantly out in the community working with local organizations like local food banks, local homeless shelters, after-school programs, mobilizing teenagers to serve in their community, looking for volunteer opportunities to find ways to get teenagers in this younger generation involved and engaged in the community. So I would love to partner with local schools and local educators and figure out how can we engage the next generation in what the town is doing and get them mobilized into the town, serving and finding volunteer opportunities for them and just creating events for them to spend time with their families out in the community.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, how do you see the role of mayor helping support schools throughout the community?
Well, I spend a lot of time in our schools, and I'm willing and ready to communicate needs of those schools to whomever will listen. We have a hard time doing that with CMS. They're so big and so broad, you know, to communicate with them is a little difficult sometimes, but you got to keep trying. So I spend a lot of time with kids. I spend a lot of time in this room with classrooms. I go visit schools, go visit classrooms, whether it's a public or private school throughout our community. So spending times with kids, they make you feel a little bit like a rock star, which is a fun thing to do. It's one of the most enjoyable parts of my job that I really enjoy doing. But I think, you know, we've got to produce our leaders of the future. We've got to produce our leaders to get us to the next point of time, if you will. Most of us that are elected aren't going to do it forever. And, you know, so I think our kids, I view it as an investment of my time to spend time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, how do you see the role of mayor helping support schools throughout the community?
I believe the highest level of support that we can provide is to provide safety. When I was a commissioner, I brought forward an amendment to our budget to add another SRO, safety officer, in the elementary school. We had agreed to have one officer, and I thought one officer between two schools just wouldn't cut it. And the board agreed with me, and we went ahead and added that second SRO. We have a real pressing need staying with safety on Bailey Road. That is a very, very unsafe area when you have cars with parents parked in the middle of the road, children going everywhere. If you've been there during pickup or drop-off, it's the Wild West. There's vehicles going everywhere, parking where they want to. I think there's a solution. I've met with some of the senior folks at CMS, and they're willing to listen. They're willing to do something to help the safety of the children of this community. Adding 350 children from Davidson and not another SRO is probably short-sighted.
Thank you, sir. Back to roads. Mr. Biladeau, which road project would you say is the highest priority for the town of Cornelius?
Well, you know, road projects, if we rely on the NCDOT, we're going to be talking 10 years out, 5 years out. Last election, there was a lot of noise made that we had 13 projects. But when you put them over time and think about how long it's taken to get just to move a shovel of dirt, it loses some of its punch. So for me, the most important thing we can do right now is use some of that $53 million and get to work on things that are maybe small but have a real impact. People may be familiar with adding the left turn lane on Westmoreland Road. There are other issues, left turn lanes at Bailey Road and 115, unsafe conditions on Jeton Road. So when you ask what would be my priority, I would say let's get to those road projects that we can control, we can manage, and we can afford, and get them done during my 2-year term.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, which road project would you say is the highest priority in the town of Cornelius?
Well, the one I think about the most is the widening of West Ckezepis, because I'm on that road every day of my life, sitting through multiple cycles, and it's not fun. It's not something I enjoy doing, and so I know that would be a project that I would support for sure and want to make sure there's some urgency behind. Also, the research has showed that roundabouts really do help push a lot of traffic through, a lot more than not having them. So I think adding the roundabouts in the appropriate places as well as widening Ckezepis are two of the projects that I absolutely would support.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, which road project would you say is the highest priority in the town of Cornelius?
Well, I want to make one comment about the fund balance. There's a real fallacy going on about our fund balance because all but about $3 million of that $53 million you keep hearing about is committed. It's committed, some of it's committed to roads, some of it's committed to the requirement that our own policies and the state requires us to keep for emergencies. So, you know, when you boil it all down, you got $3 million. That's not going to build a lot of road projects, number one. As far as I'm concerned, we have 3 projects under contract. That means happening right now with the orange barrels out that are coming our way. We have 3 more that will be under contract by the first of the year. West Ckezepis, it's my mission to move that up to 26, and I think we can do that. That's a lot of road projects. So my most important road project, those are happening. They're coming to pass. They're happening. Exit 27 is my top priority.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, are there any aspects of developing downtown that have you concerned?
Oh, absolutely. A train station, bringing folks that may not be the folks we want in our town. So developing downtown is very, very important. And we've got a good start in a 2050 plan, but we don't want to be, no pun intended, sidetracked by something that, if you can imagine, a train coming across Mays Road, coming by Bailey Road into our downtown, where we already have a very limited area of space. So moving congestion from the DDI or exit 28 over to downtown feels like a bad plan to me. It feels like we should do a little more investigation about something that we asked for by the time it's delivered 40 years in the making to have a diesel train. That's, to me, not really what our downtown needs if we want to keep it the way that folks want to see it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, are there any aspects of developing downtown that have you concerned?
I don't know about concerned, but one of the priorities I would have is making sure that we maintain those green spaces and that charm that we have. I heard one of the candidates talk about those big trees as you drive down Ckezepis, and I totally agree. That's an experience that I would not want to lose, and make sure as we're developing, as we're revitalizing the downtown, that we are focusing on maintaining green spaces and open spaces so it's not too congested and just turns into a bunch of buildings.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, are there any aspects of developing downtown that have you concerned?
Yes, there is. And the main one is traffic and gridlock in our downtown. We've got to figure out some new ways to get in and around our downtown to get people moving properly. Those are in this downtown master plan once you study those, but we've got to implement them properly. And I certainly intend for us to do that, but that's certainly in the picture. As far as the train coming up here is concerned, I'm really concerned about safety as well. But I want to take part of that 1 cent that goes to the train part of it and commit that to safety. I don't care if you have to put an officer on every train or an armed guard, whoever it takes to make that particular transportation aspect safe. If we don't make it safe, people aren't going to ride it. So it's got to be safe. And as long as I'm in a position to make a difference there, we're going to spend money on safety on those trains as it moves back and forth up and down the tracks.
Thank you, sir. On to task forces and committees. Mr. Campbell, are there any ideas for task forces or committees you would like to see happen during your term?
Yeah, well, we talked a minute ago about the next generation and about the youth in this community, and I think having more investment into things like a youth advisory board and figuring out how we can communicate to the next generation and getting them involved in the town and in the events that are happening here. So investing in things like our social media, investing in things like our communication channels to be able not only the younger generation, but the young adults and the young families who are here too. So figuring out how to best support them and get them actively engaged in the community, I think would be a top priority.
Thank you. Mr. Washam, for task forces and committees, are there any ideas for task forces or committees you would like to see happen during your term?
Yes. And the main reason I like task forces and committees, it brings citizens together. You get citizen input through that process. Does it take a little bit longer sometimes? Yeah, might, but you get buy-in from and great ideas. An example is the mayor's transportation task group. We had a fabulous group of folks. There was nothing happening with our transportation. Denis was on CRTPO at that time. There was nothing happening. So on a defensive move, I set up that particular committee. And after that, guess what? Discretionary money comes our way. We get projects under contract, things start happening, mainly because DOT knew we were serious, and the money came our way. I was very, very pleased about that. Jim Engel chaired it, did a great job, and so I see a great place in our town, mainly for the citizens' feedback aspect of it, which makes us a better town.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, for task forces and committees, are there any ideas for task forces or committees you would like to see happen during your term?
Might want to take a look at the minutes from those task force meetings that really ended up with nothing directly related to them. But rather than create a new task force, what I'd like to see happen is elevate the Transportation Advisory Board. That is citizen-led. There are some very, very plugged-in folks from the technical side of what they do. There are some from the planning department. They have over 50 recommendations that Commissioner Osbourne is working with very nicely. Those are the type of items that I mentioned earlier that we should jump on. I would like to see the Transportation Advisory Board get the same level of attention as the Planning Board or even the Town Board. Because when you think about the #1 issue that we have now, we have a Citizens Advisory Board that is pointing out, here are some things we can afford to do. And if you go down that $53 million, you'll see $11.3 million for road capital reserve. We see partnership with NCDOT, another $3.5 million. We see emergency reserve of 5%. We have some money that we can use that isn't going to hurt where we are going into the future. It will help us.
Thank you, sir. Working with other elected officials in the town. Mr. Washam, how do you believe you can help the town continue moving forward even if you and the other elected officials disagree?
Well, the mayor's in a very unusual role in that we don't vote. That's just not what we do. We can talk and we can express our opinion, but I found this particular board very easy to work with because we are aligned. We do have some differences, but we work it out. We talk it out. We reason it out. We include staff in our conversations. And we not only work, but within our own town, we work within our adjoining towns, which is important as well. My relationships with the neighboring mayors, my board's relationship with the neighboring commissioners is absolutely awesome, and that makes us a better town. That makes them a better town as well. So those kind of relationships that we have created, we need to continue those, and I think that's the role that I would like to continue moving forward in the next term.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, how do you believe you can help the town continue moving forward even if you and the other elected officials disagree?
Well, the mayor creates the agenda, and you'll never hear me say that I do not have a vote, therefore I'm not accountable or responsible or can't make things happen. I think if we're more proactive early on, I think if we have the town board, the planning board, transportation advisory board meet at least once a year and more, actually understand the direction, there will not be the wild swings that you see today where one board votes 7-1 one way and the other's 5-0 the other way. That's not something that I was familiar with in working through teamwork. You really have to start early and have everyone on the same page and understand. And at the end of the day, the mayor does play a critical role to moving things along and having the pace on the agenda for the town.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, how do you believe you can help the town continue moving forward even if you and the other elected officials disagree?
Yeah, I'm a really collaborative leader, and I think a big piece of that is being a good listener. When you have a disagreement with somebody or you don't understand their perspective, the first thing you have to do is really try to understand. You have to have empathy for where they're coming from and what their perspective is. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be an advocate for the residents over anything else. So if I have a disagreement with someone on the board, it's going to be because I believe that the citizens of Cornelius have a different perspective on it, or they're leaning a different way. But we will keep things going. We'll work together, and I think the way I'll do that best is be able to listen and understand and try to find common ground with the other people around me.
Thank you, sir. We are coming to the end of our evening tonight. We do appreciate all the questions that were submitted to us this evening. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm now going to go right to left, and I will ask you, Mr. Washam, why should people vote for you?
Well, I've had a good role here with being an elected official in this town. It started back in 2013 as a commissioner, mayor pro tem for 2 terms, and then deciding to run for mayor. It's my hometown. It's a town I love, deeply love. I understand growing up here the fabric that brought us where we are today. And a lot of that we need to swing forward into the future and maintain that, because there was some good stuff coming out of our past that we can't let go of. So I certainly believe in that. I believe in the relationships that are in place right now. I believe in the board that I could potentially serve with, and I think we can go to work on day one and make a difference. There'll be no lag time with me continuing as your mayor with the board that you saw up here tonight. I think it would be a strong statement back to the community that we could keep our town going in the right direction.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, why should people vote for you?
So I'm running to give people another option. I want to bring a fresh energy to the town of Cornelius. I want to bring a fresh perspective, someone who's been outside of politics, and bring that perspective into the leadership here in Cornelius. And like I mentioned earlier, I am a person of the people. I want to make sure that I'm listening to the people. I want to make sure that I understand the concerns, and I will work hard every single day if I'm elected mayor of Cornelius. So if you are looking for something new, if you're looking for something fresh, if you're looking for some new energy in Cornelius, I'm the person to vote for.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, why should people vote for you?
Well, I think you saw today that we have a very solid board here, and I'd like to bring the best out of them. I don't understand about hitting the road, hitting it in January. We're on the road right now with these commissioners. And unfortunately, the last 2 or 3 months, there haven't been any report outs. There haven't been, an emphasis placed on what these citizens have told us they want to see happen. In fact, we had a September 2nd board meeting that lasted less than 10 minutes. So I think there's a sense of urgency that I will bring, a fresh look at the budget, a fresh look at our fund balance, and work well with many of the commissioners that I've worked with in the past. So I look forward to support. I look forward to being your next mayor of Cornelius.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to all of you being here tonight as well. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you to Bill Russell and the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce for allowing us to partner with them on this event. This is our second in our series of 3. We do have next week on Thursday night the Town of Huntersville Commissioners, board members, running for board, as well as the mayoral race there as well. Thank you to CJ back at the producer's booth. Thank you to Bill for running the board here as well. Thank you to the Town of Cornelius also for allowing us in here into the beautiful facility and using the technology. Have a great evening.